y'all ready to head off the trails? I'm the Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones, and I'm ready to take you on a mysterious journey right now. We welcome you to Off the Trails right here on the Spaced Out Radio YouTube channel. If you haven't hit subscribe yet, please do. We would really appreciate the love. Shout out to Bumblefoot for that awesome intro music. We always appreciate it. And you guys, be sure to please follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. You can find me at thecryptidhuntress.com. And you guys, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Cryptid Huntress. Visit my shop, War Woman Goods. And also, if anyone would like a personal, private tarot and oracle card reading with me, go sign up. It's on my website and that shop link. All right. I have a fantastic guest here tonight. Once again, I have a wonderful guest. I have D.A. Roberts in the house. And don't forget that right after this show, After Hours has an amazing show set up for you guys. So let's get to our guest. D.A. Roberts is a cryptozoologist, author, podcaster, and field investigator. Born in Lebanon, Missouri, he now lives in Springfield, Missouri, with his wife and sons. For most of his career, D.A. served his community in law enforcement. D.A. has been investigating and researching cryptids for more than 4 decades and is the Region 2 director of the North American Dogman Project. D.A. has been featured on numerous podcasts and shows for his writing and cryptid research, and he's been here before at least twice. And I'd like for everybody to help me welcome Spaced Out Radio, Mr. D.A. Roberts. Hey, D.A.
How you doing?
Hey, I'm excellent. Oh man, I couldn't have gotten you here at a better time. It's almost Halloween. Okay.
Ooh, my favorite time of the year.
Mine too. And you know, you write wonderful books in the horror genre, okay, about the most interesting cryptids like Dogman, the Wendigo, and mutant Sasquatches. Okay. So I figured we'd talk about some of that tonight.
Sounds good to me. I'm always down for a good cryptid conversation.
Well, heck yeah, that's what we're here for. Absolutely. Now, DA, something very interesting came across my desk today, and yes, I do work on Sundays, and I do have a desk. Okay, my friend Tanya sent me an article, and it was from MSN, Mainstream Media. Okay, talking about a cryptid out of Montana. And it sounds like a possible Dogman to me. Okay. It's the name of the article is actually, I kind of wrote it here. I am horrible at pulling screens up on here. So I just don't do it. Okay. But this is the name of the article. It turns out Montana has cryptids of its own. And they're talking about something called the Shunka Waronkan. Okay. I believe is the name of it. And they also refer to this as the Rocky Mountain Hyena. And it dates back to the 1800s. Now, are you familiar with this?
Yes, I actually am. William Neidhart discussed it quite a bit. The Shunka Waronkan is, it's always described as being bipedal, and I believe the name translates as thief of dogs or this creature that steals dogs.
Carries off dogs. Yeah.
But it's something that the Native Americans have been talking about for a long time. And I do think it ties into the Dogman story. I think it's very close to the Dogman lore. Did you freeze up? Uh-oh. Did I freeze up? One of us froze up. Okay, who froze up? I think it was you, Jessica. Can you hear me? Well, I guess I'll just talk about Dogman until she gets back. As you said, I'm the Region 2 director of the North American Dogman Project. We're an organization that researches Dogman, the Dogman phenomenon across the United States and North America, and even have chapters in other countries. The Dogman phenomenon is not something that's new. It dates back centuries. In fact, as far as recorded history, if you look at the possibility of the connection between Anubis and there was Wepwawet, an Egyptian god that had the head of a wolf. Then you've got, of course, the Catholic iconography of Saint Christopher, the dog-headed saint. Both Christopher Columbus and Marco Polo wrote of seeing dog-headed creatures on their journeys. It was documented in both of their journals. And then, of course, the Greeks and Roman talked about the cynocephalus, tribes of dog-headed warriors that they encountered in Africa and in India, which brought us the term cynocephaly, which basically means creature with the head of a dog. I think we've lost Jessica completely. Hopefully she can log back in, because I have no technical controls over any of this. I can't do anything. Anybody in the chat got any questions? Anthony says, welcome to the D.A. Roberts show. I don't know how it happened. Hopefully she can get logged back in. She was mentioning earlier that she was having some issues with her laptop. I can't even send invites to bring people in. So Donna Spencer says they've been here since the Egyptian times and the Bigfoot. Yeah, I believe that Dogman dates back. I think it actually may be a genetic descendant of and I just drew a complete blank. I think it's a genetic descendant of the dire wolf. Whereas early humans domesticated wolves, and that's how we got modern dog breeds. Hey, she was back for a second. We lost her again.
Hold on.
There you are. Oh my God.
God.
I was just talking to fill the air. I was like, what the hell happened?
You guys, I don't know what just happened there. My computer just completely shut down.
It's that satellite that affects us once in a while.
DA, I'm so glad you are a show host and you totally just took over there. I appreciate that. Yes.
I had to fill some air. Otherwise, I'm just going to stand there blinking.
My computer literally just shut down for no reason. Okay.
Well, I'm glad you were able to get back in because
oh my God.
I couldn't end the show or anything.
Back over.
I just know. Like, and here we are.
Oh my gosh. You know what? These things happen and it is close to Halloween. Now I think the energy is a little crazy, but DA, I apologize for that.
Oh, no need to apologize at all. It's happened to me too. I don't know
what the heck's going on. I know. Okay.
I'm just shocked it wasn't my computer that did it because I'm on a wing and a prayer with my computer as it is.
I've never had that happen before. Okay. So let's get back to this, what is it called? The Skunka Warakin? Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. So, okay, so we were talking about how it's the Native Americans have talked about this thing, and it was bipedal, right?
And it was much bigger than an average wolf. In some cases, they described, like you said, as being hyena-like.
Yeah.
But where I think that they have a common ancestor whereby it links to Dogman is I think that both the Shunkawarakan and Dogman are direct genetic descendants of dire wolves.
Yeah. Oh, wow. They could be. Well, there is a hyena type of Dogman. And,
right. And it's been seen in quite a few places.
Yeah. And you know what I think is interesting is that a hyena is not even a canine. Isn't it more related to a cat?
I don't know. I'd have to look that up. I'll take your word for it, though.
Yeah, I mean that's what I've been told, but it's a type of dogman. So,
well, during the age of megafauna, North America had species of gigantic hyena, giant sloth, and even a giant baboon, which could explain the sightings of modern day Gugway.
Oh, that could, because they do look very similar to that. Huh. Very interesting. Yeah, well, okay, so this creature that was reported in this article today or yesterday on MSN, they were talking about how in 1886, a farmer in Montana actually killed one of these creatures and had it taxidermed. And he mounted it, and I think they put it in a grocery store. Okay, and it was on, and it's not like a big grocery store like Publix or Kroger or something, It's a little neighborhood grocery store. But it was there for almost 100 years or something like that. And it just kind of disappeared. So I think that's really interesting. I think it's very interesting.
I think we're going to see a lot of connections made as more is learned about cryptids like this, because it's. I think a lot of them can be easily explained to relic populations of megafauna. I think one of the possibilities for the explanation of the modern Sasquatch is if you look at Danny Vendramini, Them and Us, How Neanderthal Predation Shaped a Modern Man. If you read that book, the forensic reconstruction they did of Neanderthal skulls looks very much like the modern Sasquatch.
It does. That's right. Wow. Yeah. You know what? I don't know why I just thought of this. You ever seen that movie Lucy? That is one of my
Yes.
favorite movies. Some people hated it and thought it was the worst movie ever, but I think Lucy is one of the best movies. And that
Good
reminds me
movie.
of what you're talking about a little bit with the Neanderthals and stuff. Um, but yeah, I thought that this was very interesting that they actually put this article on MSN on the main page when people logged into their on their laptops, their computers, and things like that. Um, because I think Dogman is getting a lot more mainstream now. Da, what do you think?
Well, I think organizations like the NADP and other
Mhm.
even television shows have brought more attention to Dogman in recent years.
Yeah.
And a lot of shows like yours and mine, and
Uh-huh.
there's dozens of other shows that talk about cryptids have brought this more into the mainstream, and people
Yeah.
feel more comfortable talking about it. But at the same time, I also think sightings are on the rise.
Yeah. Why do you think sightings are on the rise? Do you think there's just more dogmen, or did
I
people
think,
get them confused with Bigfoot for a while, or what do you think?
well, generally years ago, if anybody saw something up, 7 feet tall, upright and covered in hair, they immediately
Yeah.
said Bigfoot. Uh, but not many people had anything to compare it to other than calling it a werewolf. But now that we're bringing attention to the different types of creatures, more and more
Mhm.
people are be able to differentiate between this was a Bigfoot sighting, this was a Dogman sighting. Um,
Yeah.
but if you look at the lore, both Bigfoot and Dogman, we've got sightings dating back centuries, long before the term Dogman or Bigfoot either were coined. Back in the 1800s, you can look at old newspaper clippings, and by the hundreds, you can find like wild man attacks
Yeah.
farmer and things like that. They just referred to it as a wild man.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that Katie, yes, there are dogmen in South Mississippi. I do believe. I've actually did a show not too long ago about the Wolf Woman of Mobile, Alabama, and that's not Mississippi, but it's right next
It's
door.
close.
It's right next door, and when I actually remote viewed that entity, and it turned out to be a werewolf, a rougarou. Okay, and I had never really looked into rougarous, but that's a werewolf, and
Mm.
not too far from that's Louisiana kind of, but this was in Alabama, and it had something to do with some black magic. Someone had kind of conjured it up or done some black magic to become that werewolf, which is to me that's kind of like being a skinwalker, kind of.
Kind of. The Rougarou
Hmm.
curse is more voodoo in origin.
Yeah.
Um, but the lore of the Rougarou descends from the French Cajuns, and the French referred to a werewolf as a loup-garou, and
Okay.
that's the French word for werewolf, like the beast of Gévaudan. But as it changed and became more localized to the lore of that area, it became Rougarou as opposed to loup-garou. But some of the
Mhm.
earliest sightings in the LBL region date back before there was land between the lakes, back when it was land between the rivers, to the late 1600s, to French trappers who referred to seeing a loup-garou in the
Wow.
woods there.
Wow. The 1600s.
The late 1600s, when French trappers were first coming across North America.
Wow. That's interesting because I think that some of the entities there are very ancient and very old and they're from there, and I think there's some that aren't too. So, hmm. I didn't realize they go back that far.
Well, the
Yeah.
lore on dogmen go back centuries. Both Marco Polo and Christopher Columbus both documented seeing dog-headed creatures on their journeys. The Catholic iconography depicts Saint Christopher as the dog-headed saint. That he
Yeah.
had the head of a dog until he converted to Christianity, in which became at that point he became a man. Um, Dating back to the Romans and the Greeks. The Romans
Yeah.
and the Greeks both talked about encountering warriors with the heads of dogs in Africa and in India. They referred to them as the cynocephalus, which gave birth to the term cynocephali, which means creature with the head of a dog.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about dogmen being guards for Egyptians or whoever was in rule, their pharaohs? Crystal has that question tonight.
Well, both Wepwawet and Anubis were depicted as having. Well, Anubis had the head of a jackal. Wepwawet was more of a wolf head, but they were brothers, and both of them had to do with the underworld. Wepwawet was known as the opener of ways, of pathways into the underworld, and Anubis was the god of the underworld, guardian of the dead. And if dogmen have connections to that, that could very well explain why a lot of sightings of dogmen are in or around cemeteries.
Yeah. And we've seen that video. A lot of us have seen this video of what looks like a dog man digging a hole in a cemetery. Have you seen that? I'm
I
sure
have.
you have. Yeah. What do you think about that?
Well, I wouldn't think that a dog man would be digging into a grave looking for bones or anything like that,
Hmm.
because you know the last 100 years or so we've embalmed our bodies when they're
That's right.
interred. So I would say those chemicals would render them unpalatable, probably unable to be eaten without being toxic. So I don't know what they're doing digging in a grave, but it could have been an older grave that didn't have an embalming process, or it could have simply been looking for something else. Um,
It's pretty
it's very
terrifying.
strange. Yeah.
It was weird. I mean, just a normal person wouldn't go out there digging into a grave with their hands like that. It didn't look like a human. So I don't know. I mean, it could have been a very elaborate hoax, but then again, who knows in this day and age?
The
So
problem is photographic evidence and video evidence is so hard to take at face value today because
it
of
is.
programs like Photoshop and Video Shop. It's so easy to fake a photo now. We can't accept anything at face value. That's why I don't think photographic evidence or video evidence is ever going to be taken as proof.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that. Um, Yeah, I feel that. Well, DA, your books, you do a lot of research on all of your cryptids that you do books on, and you have the Apex Predator series, and you have the Wild Hunt series, and there is one cryptid in particular that you have written a book about, and it's the Wendigo. And that's one cryptid I don't know anything about. And
Well,
so I was thinking maybe we could talk about that tonight.
I don't know if you can actually classify a Wendigo as a cryptid.
Okay.
Cryptids, by the name, by the name itself of cryptozoology, it's the study of unknown animals. I don't think the Wendigo was ever an animal. I think it is more supernatural in origin. It's very different than the Skinwalker, because the Skinwalker has the ability to take any form it wants. Wendigo generally only take the one form, and it can a lot of different versions of the lore from Native American tribes can vary widely from tribe to tribe. Called the Wendigo, the Wendiga, the Wentico. There are lots of different words that are very similar, and some describe it as being like this anthropomorphized, almost humanoid with deer-like features and fangs and horns, while others refer to it as being a human with extremely gaunt skin, generally having lips missing, fingers chewed down to nubs. But one thing they do agree on it is that the Wendigo is a embodiment of the spirit of famine, the spirit of starvation, and most people who become cursed with the curse of the Wendigo have done so because they consume human flesh, which is a huge taboo.
Ooh, well, of course, that's it's a big taboo. I don't even like thinking about that. So cannibals.
Mhm.
Well, when I looked it up today, I was looking this up online to like maybe pull up some pictures to show tonight, and every picture that I found looked like an animal that was like a zombie animal.
like a
So
like a
so
zombified deer or an elk.
yeah, I'll pull up some pictures, and maybe you can kind of explain to us um, how it's different in different regions and different tribes and things like that.
Well, there's some versions of the legend that will describe it as being a very pale skinned, gaunt human with like the head of an elk or a deer with the horns.
Hmm.
But I think that may possibly just be a skull mask they're using. And then there are
Okay.
other versions of the legend that talk about a creature very much like that. That version of the Wendigo, there's a type of Bigfoot they refer to as a Wendigo, which is very powerful and large predatory, eats consistently primarily meat like a polar bear. So there's a lot of overlap in that particular area when it comes to Wendigo and Bigfoot lore, but it's from that same general area, the Algonquin regions up around the Great Lakes and north into Canada. But the classic Wendigo is a curse. There, in fact, the most recent case that I've recorded, they refer to it as Wendigo psychosis. There was a guy on a bus on the Trans-Canada Highway who just snapped and killed a guy in the next seat over, and began carving strips of flesh off the guy and eating it.
Ew.
And when they evacuated the bus and the police finally stormed the guy, he had Ziploc bags of flesh that he'd stripped off the guy in his pockets.
Ew.
The guy was placed in. He didn't go to prison. He went to a psychiatric hospital, and I think in 2016 he was released. So the guy that actually ate that guy on the bus is now back out on the streets. I don't know if if he's it would ever happen again. But it's what they refer to as Wendigo psychosis, when people just become almost possessed
Cannibalistic.
with this cannibal, ravenous spirit.
Oh my gosh.
And then you've got the Swift Runner case, which was the last case in Canada that was actually prosecuted. It was a Native American who, one spring, he showed up at a trading post claiming that his family had died of starvation during the harsh winter. And they thought the story sounded a little weird because he didn't look like he'd missed any meals. In fact, he was pretty heavy. So they clapped the dude in irons and went back and checked on his family, and they found that he'd murdered his entire family and eaten them. And they said the worst part is they don't know why, because he was like a half a mile from a trading post, and even during extreme conditions, he could have snowshoed to the trading post for food. But he was actually tried and I believe sentenced to death. I think they hung him. But the Swift Runner case is one of the more famous because it's one of the ones where he was tried as a Wendigo and prosecuted as being a Wendigo. But that lore dates back centuries, especially in the harsh areas, the harsh winter areas of the northern border with Canada and up into Canada, primarily the Algonquin regions. But still, Wendigos have been seen down as far south as Colorado and in the Appalachian Mountains. So sightings of Wendigo have been in odd places. There was even one in southern Illinois, I want to say about 10 years ago, where the Native Americans say that if you whistle in the woods, you can attract a Wendigo. And that's what this young lady did. She went out to look for her dog, who didn't return from the woods, started whistling for it, and then the dog come highballing it out of the woods, and she heard something crashing in her direction. And she ran inside and locked the door. And this creature that she described as a Wendigo circled her house for several nights before she got a shaman from a neighboring tribe to come over and drive it away. But that's why even today they tell you don't whistle in the woods at night. And if you hear something call your name in the woods late at night, don't go looking for it.
Oh my gosh, that's terrifying.
Because they can mimic your voice.
Yeah, I've heard stories about that happening to people, and I don't know. I go out and do a lot of Bigfoot field research with my teams, and we don't do a lot of whistling, but there's a lot of whooping going on, with the Bigfoots out there and stuff. So I'm gonna be way more careful now.
Yeah, definitely. William Nighthawk says, "Tell them how to deal with the Wendigo." DA. There's a lot of different versions of how to kill it. Some versions say to cut its heart out with a silver knife, and then you burn the body and the creature itself separately. I'm sorry, the body and the heart separately. But most of the versions involve some sort of fire is a method of cleansing it. But I believe the Wendigo spirit itself is. I want to use I use the word demon, but I don't necessarily mean demon in the Judeo-Christian sense, but as more of a powerful entity. I think it is a nature spirit, essentially like a demon that embodies the spirit of hunger. And there are various ways to repel it, but I don't think there's a true way to destroy it.
Huh. Yeah. So you were saying that you could burn it. Right, burn these
if
things.
You can put it down.
If you can get it down, you think you could kill it with a bullet?
I don't think most bullets, even consecrated bullets, I don't think they would do much good. But considering how much fire will do, I think dragon's breath rounds or incendiary rounds could at least hurt it enough you could shove it into a fire or get it down.
Yeah. Oh, and William says only native medicine men can kill them. Wow. Hey, William, I hope you're feeling better. Okay. That's pretty terrifying, actually, and that's just one other thing to put on my list to have to worry about when I'm out in the woods.
And again, I don't think Wendigo can be classified as a cryptid because I don't think it's truly alive. I don't think it's an animal at all. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it is something that's a curse or a possession from this Wendigo spirit. I think it can manifest in multiple places, even in multiple creatures at the same time. But the true spirit of the Wendigo, I don't think could be killed.
Yeah. Well, so I think a lot of people in chat tonight know that you're not supposed to whistle in the woods. And I'd never heard this before until we talked about this briefly at on Brunch with Bigfoot this week with Bigfoot Michigan Rob. DA, you and I were both on his show that day. So that is it's pretty scary. Now, I actually just did a show on Friday about a vampire, and it was the vampire of Mineral Point, Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
A rumored vampire. It turned out to not actually be a vampire, in my opinion. Okay. But it was what I would consider to be an entity that has ties to an entity from England from a long time ago. And it was said that this entity, which was called the vampire, it was hanging out in a cemetery, DA. Okay. I forgot the name, Graceland Cemetery, I think, in Mineral Point, Wisconsin. And when the police went to go check out this vampire that people were complaining about and reporting, it jumped over a fence. It like jumped 6 to 10 feet up in the air. Okay. And so
It doesn't sound like a natural phenomenon.
It didn't. Well, it was also spotted again later on in an apartment complex, and it was hiding in a tree, and it was jumping down and trying to attack people as they'd walk by. Okay. And it was pretty terrifying for the people who lived there. So they called the police department again. The police got out there and they chased this guy, and he jumped 10 feet over a wall. Okay. Well, I didn't find any kind of evidence of this thing ever biting anyone or sucking anyone's blood, like a typical vampire you'd think would do. But I did pick up that it had some kind of similarities to what is called the Springfield Jack. And I had several people mention that to me on social media when I was doing the research on this. So it kind of started off looking like this Nosferatu character, and that's why people thought it was a vampire, because it looked kind of like that. But then this thing was jumping all over the place. Okay. And eventually I believe that the Spring Hill Jack guy is who they base Batman off of. He just jumps in the air and attacks people. But you just did a show recently on real vampires too. And I think that's fascinating. I know you do your research. So what kind of research did you do on vampires? What did you find out that's interesting?
What I've discovered is, whether you classify them as real vampires or not, there are vampire cults all across the country, in every major city, and even in some of the smaller ones. These are groups of people that either are practicing vampires that actually drink blood. They have people that are part of the covens that are donors that will allow them to have their blood drank. There are others. There's what I think it's referred to as the sanguinarians, the ones who drink blood, and then the psychic vampires, which believe they feed off the energy of other people. And if you've ever had one of those days where you just felt fantastic and you bump into the wrong person and then you just feel like crap the rest of the day, I think that is a type of psychic vampirism. Whether that person intentionally did it or not, there are some people that will just suck the joy out of a room. And I think that's a form of psychic vampirism, and that some of them practice that psychic vampirism where they draw energy from people. But whether or not you want to take it that seriously, vampirism dates back centuries, and it exists in one form or another in practically every culture. And people are still practicing it to this day. Well, again, whether or not you want to believe that they're true vampires or not is irrelevant. They believe they're vampires, and down in Louisiana, people have disappeared.
Wow!
Especially in New Orleans.
Well, yeah. Well, we've actually had so many. We've had so many children and people go missing all the time, right?
According to NAMU, which is the National Center for Missing and Exploited National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, according to NAMUS, 600,000 people go missing in the United States every year.
That's wild.
And so, granted, a good chunk of those probably turn up the next day. So you can't say 600,000 people just vanish, but that's 600,000 reported. How many undocumented people or homeless people go missing and are never reported?
Yeah. I mean, there's just, I mean, I did a show not so long ago with Nick Valente, and who's worked in law enforcement most of his life. And we talked about the missing people, and there's so much human trafficking going on here in the United States and all over the world. It's not just supernatural elements taking these people. There's a market for children and adults, and a lot of that has to do with wanting their blood and stuff. And I know that sounds disgusting, but it's true. And organs, what is it called? The dark web and the black market for that. Yeah.
Yeah, when I was in law enforcement, we did a number of training seminars on the dark web, but I would never try to actually access it from my computer because
Yeah.
no matter what firewall you've got or software, once you get that kind of attention on your computer, it's going to be toast. They're going to
Yeah.
have every bit of your information.
Yeah. Hey, and that's not why my computer shut down tonight. I've never accessed the dark web, everybody. Okay. Don't even go there. I don't know what happened with that. That was weird. But anyways, yeah. It's almost like there's not, I'm not gonna say there's not a big outrage for all these missing people, but like, where are they going? Could be vampires. I don't know. Some people say that there's actually still long-standing vampiric families down in Louisiana, and the elite. There's like elite vampires and stuff. So
Well, again, like I said, whether you choose to believe they're actual vampires or not, these people take it very seriously. So, for all intents and purposes, I'd say go err on the side of caution and give them the benefit of the doubt that they probably are, and defend yourself accordingly. Because if they are that powerful, if they have that much influence, especially political influence, you're not going to be able to stop them through conventional means.
exactly, and it's okay to not answer your phone, you guys. Okay, when somebody calls you and every time you talk to a particular person, they drain your energy.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't realize they are energy vampires. I'm sure we've all been energy vampires to other people before, but there are some people. It's like their professional job. Okay, it's to like drain people's energy. So I always tell everyone, protect your energy at all costs. Okay, because that's your greatest asset is your energy. And there are entities here, and yes, there are entities inside of people. Sometimes I do believe that their goal is to drain you of your life force. So just be very cautious of that with the people you surround yourself with.
I've experienced that, and you've seen not necessarily the draining of your energy when you're doing paranormal investigations, but I've had even on cryptid investigations, I've had the energy just vanish out of equipment. And it's no different. And, we're as human beings, our body is filled with electrical impulses, and if something can feed off of that, you're gonna feel sick, you're gonna feel exhausted, you're gonna feel wound down, and until your body replenishes, it's going to take some time before you feel good again.
Yeah, yeah. Well, last weekend, actually, I went to an area that my research team researches. We call it the Meadow, and we did some research there. And there was one night, the night after I left, actually, because I couldn't stay the whole weekend because I do have shows to do, and so I came home on Saturday, and that night. The next night, my team went out into the field and did what we call the SD session, where someone puts on headphones and a mask, and they're asked questions by someone else, and they can't hear what the question is, but they can hear the voice that comes through the spirit box, and so they say the words out loud that come through the spirit box, and so that's answering questions that are being asked by someone who the channel can't hear. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
And there were several people out there that went home. They feel like something might have some kind of dark entity could have very well affected some of my team. Okay, out there, and that happens sometimes. I've had what we call hitchhikers come home with me, orbs of light and things like that came into my house the night after I'd been out at the Meadow.
I think something followed me home from LBL.
Do you? Mm-hmm. What happened?
Well, for part of the time in LBL, I was going around by myself, which probably in retrospect wasn't the smartest thing. But even at night, I was running around LBL by myself until Nick got there. I was there for a day and a half, 2 days before Nick Valente got there. And of course, we did have a dogman sighting in there. But when I got back to Springfield, sometimes because I'm a night owl, I stay up late and write and research and do stuff for the books. There'd be 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I'd go to let the dog outside, and he wouldn't leave the light of the porch. And I would feel like something at the back of my property was watching me. And it wasn't very long after that for a buddy of mine who's Navajo contacted me. He's like, "Hey, I had a dream about you." I'm like, "Okay, that's weird. What do you mean?" He goes, "No, like something dark is following you." And I said, "Well, funny you should mention that." and he told me how to. He talked me through and sent me a bunch of information and assisted me with performing a blessing way, and it went away. But every once in a while, I still get the feeling there's something back there.
Oh, absolutely. You know, our dogs and our cats really do pick up on things that we can't, a lot of us can't pick up on. I used to have a cat who would watch, it looked like he was watching entities and interacting with people in my home that weren't there, you know. I think that especially cats can pick up on different dimensions that we just don't see. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, if your dog is growling at something, you better believe there's something there, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. If my dog senses something, I believe him every time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You know, and that's why one of the reasons I don't take my dog out to any kind of research area where we go doing our Bigfooting and stuff like that. I'm scared of what could happen to my dog. You know, she's going to pick up on energies around me more faster than I will, and she'll run after them before I even know what happened. And chances are she'll get thrown against a tree and I'll never see her alive again.
So I don't have to worry about that with my dog. He's a huge coward. Yeah.
Oh, really?
If there's something out there, he's going to be behind me or my wife.
Poor baby. Oh my gosh.
You would think a 90-pound pit bull would be a little more brave than that, but not really.
Well, as long as your dog barks, right? I think the barking is the important thing. Okay.
He will definitely bark, but if there's something legitimately there, he's behind one of the two of us.
Well, that's because he knows you guys are going to protect him. Okay, so
he knows I'm usually armed.
Yeah. Well, so am I, but my dog still, she's gonna go after him. So at least I hope so. You never know what your dog's gonna do until they're put in that position, though, right?
Right. Exactly.
We never know. Yeah.
Well, in cases of cryptids, like the missing 411 cases, the ones I always found most compelling are the ones where dogs refuse to track. I mean, would like lay down or try to get back in the truck, because in my law enforcement career, I've worked with tracking dogs, and they don't do that. That is not normal behavior.
Yeah. You know what? That reminds me too of that case of the wolf woman of Mobile, Alabama, which I picked up was a rougarou, a werewolf. When the dogs were sent out to track this thing, they stopped at the swamp, or there was I want to say swamp, but it was some sort of like wood line. Mm-hmm. They would not go past it, and these are tracking dogs. Okay, they would not go past that line.
I can tell you from experience, these tracking dogs, they live for the track. They cannot wait to get on the hunt. And the only time that you'll give you an issue is when they can't find a trail, and they have signals they're taught to give to let you know when they can't find it. They just, when they can't get on the signal. But when they refuse to track, that's an issue. That's a big issue. Excuse me.
Yeah. Well, that's their job, man. That's their job. That's what they're supposed to do, and they get a reward for tracking. So it makes you wonder. Is it? They know they're tracking an apex predator, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we can train dogs to hunt bears. We can train dogs to hunt mountain lions, but we don't have, because you have to have the pelt of one of these animals to get them used to the scent. But we don't have pelts from cryptids to get these dogs used to the scent to get them to track it. So as far as they're concerned, it's just an uber predator, and they don't want any part of it.
Pelts. That reminds me. I am actually going to be doing a show next Wednesday on skinwalkers. Okay, shapeshifters, reptilians. I'm lumping it all together, DA. So it's shapeshifters, and then it's like skinwalkers and reptilians. Okay, and a lot of people, they say that you have to kind of have like an animal pelt. You put it on, and black magic is involved, and you when you're becoming a skinwalker, right? What do you know about skinwalkers?
Generally, skinwalkers are they start out as shaman or medicine men or women, and they have to do something that is basically so vile it corrupts their soul to become a skinwalker. There's no redemption for them. There is no coming back from that. At that point, according to Navajo lore, they can turn into any shape. They can even mimic the shape of other people, but you can always know them by their eyes. But to kill one or to stop one, you have to know their true name. But there are ways to repel them, like using corn pollen or white ash. You can hurt one and even drive it off. But it takes a medicine man to keep one away from your house. And there are certain things you can do. And then the Navajo word for it is Yinatalushi, and they won't even say it. They will not bring up skinwalkers in conversation. They'll just refer to it as it or that thing, because they believe saying the name gives it power and can draw it to you. So they're very, very careful about even saying the name Skinwalker.
Oh my gosh! So maybe I shouldn't be saying that next Wednesday then.
Well, we're not Navajo, so
okay. So it doesn't matter if I say it.
We're okay. But the Navajo are very, very conscious of not saying the name, because they believe it gives them power and can draw them to you. But they are very dangerous. They're as dark as you can go. They're a corrupted soul. That what they give up in exchange for the power to become a skinwalker.
Oh my gosh! I actually met a medicine man. I spent a weekend with several people up in it's in North Carolina, and he told me, he said, I can turn you into a skinwalker. I don't think he was offering. Okay, let me get that straight. I don't think he was offering it to me, but he said, I can turn you into one. He's like, but it's going to cost you dearly.
It'll cost you your soul. Basically.
What I took from that was it would cost me my soul. It was something I did not want to do, but he mentioned that, you could walk through walls, you could do all this stuff, I don't really care. When I die, I will be able to walk through walls. I'm safely going to assume. Okay. I can wait,
I'll be as clumsy in death as I am in life. You'll hear my ghost go poof into the wall like, ah, crap.
Your dogs and your cats are going to sit there laughing at you, when they see you. Yeah, I mean, what is the lure of like wanting to be a skinwalker though? Like, is it just
power?
Because people are evil, or is it because they want to? I mean, what do you think is the psychology behind that?
Well, I can tell you from working in law enforcement, I have looked evil in the eye. I've spoken to a serial killer before. There is human evil, but you basically got to have someone that's evil already, that is willing to corrupt their very soul for power, and that's essentially why they become skinwalkers. And at that point, they become predators for their own people, their own family. And generally to put a stain on your soul that dark usually involves the murder of somebody in your family, somebody very close to you. So it's dark magic. It's as dark magic gets.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, I'm not into that. Okay. I'm not into that. I'm interested in studying it, but here's something else that I find very interesting is that, on social media, I don't have Netflix, DA. Okay. I got rid of that a long time ago. It was just, I just felt like there was nothing good on there for my son was always hopping on. And I was like, it's just not good for a kid. And so that's my personal opinion. But
I don't blame you. I mean,
the talk of the town is the Jeffrey Dahmer show. Okay. I never watched it either. Well, I don't have Netflix. Okay. However, that's kind of the talk of what everybody's memeing it and making jokes about it and stuff. Well, it's interesting that that's kind of coming out right now. And I see life in a whole different perspective now that I've been doing these shows and I've been on my spiritual path, and I'm very in tune with spirituality and things right now. And I see how sometimes things are put out there for the general public, to get into the mass consciousness of people. Okay. And it's almost like a spirit, in my opinion, where people are really into the cannibalism now and all that kind of stuff. So, I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Well, the dark tales of humanity have always been the one that's fascinated us. Even going back to the, when our entertainment was as hunter-gatherers gathering on the fire at night, somebody telling the story of a great hunt. We as humans have always enjoyed stories. Storytelling has always been a huge part of what we are. And the creepier the story, the more your audience gets enthralled, which is why, I chose to be a horror author. I like writing horror. I like writing creepy stories. And those seem to be the stories that really stick with us. And the ones that stick with us the most are the ones that are true. So your serial killer stories like Jeffrey Dahmer, those are modern horror stories, but
Yeah.
they're real. When you start talking about BTK, you start talking about the Son of Sam, the Zodiac killer. People get involved. They get invested in this because, in the case of some of them, like Zodiac, he was never caught.
Yeah, it's pretty scary, but I just think that there's a fascination with serial killers. I personally don't like watching any of those kind of shows. I used to be obsessed with the first 48. Okay, where there was murder and it was solving crimes and I just had a fascination with it. But then they started filming it on my street where I lived. Okay, and then I had to quit watching it because I got scared. I felt like I was
It's
going
a
to
little close to
manifest
home.
that. Yeah, in Decatur, Georgia. Okay, DeKalb County, y'all. Yeah, it was literally being filmed on my street. There was a murder there, and I thought, man, I'm done. We're done. We're going to turn this off.
Well,
Uh,
I read an article one time that said in the average person's lifetime, they will walk, literally brush past. I think it's 3 to 5 murderers in their lifetime. People who have actively committed murder. I worked as a CO for 10 years. I brushed past a heck of a lot more than that, and some of them
wow.
were absolutely terrifying people. Then there were others that it was a crime of passion. It wasn't done out of evil or malice. It was done, because of a momentary breakdown. And those are the ones I kind of felt sorry for a little bit, because it's not like something that was in their character. It was a snap moment, and they definitely deserve to be punished for it, because it's still murder. But then you've got others that were like, yeah, I killed him, and I'd do it again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Just
what,
very
to me,
matter of fact about it.
it feels to me like it's almost putting murderers and serial killers on a pedestal in a way,
Well,
and
yeah,
glorifying them, and giving them giving them space and a platform. So
Mhm.
it's giving people fame, and like, what is everybody going for these days? Fame and fortune and likes and shares on TikTok and all that kind of stuff. So people do weird stuff. Okay. This has nothing to do with anything, y'all. But DA. I mean, I was seeing like these videos where like these women want to look as ugly as they can, like they spit out their dentures and stuff, and then like they snap their fingers and they're just like a beauty queen. And it's like, why would you do that? It's because of the likes. It's like
Yeah.
because of the shock factor. Okay. And that's what people are going for this day, is like you can get fame so quickly by a shock factor, you
Yeah.
know. And I don't know, y'all don't come at me at that one. I'm blown away. I don't really pay attention to TikTok
I,
or anything.
I can't do any videos like that, because I'm just this ugly all the time. There's no poof and I'm better looking. It's just this. What you see is what you
You
get.
can do some makeup magic, DA. You never know. It is Halloween too, right?
That's true. I could always wear a mask.
Oh my gosh, you never know where these conversations are going on off the trails here. Yeah, I go
Off the
off the
trails, off the
rails.
rails.
I go off the rails. Yeah, DA, I don't think that you have done a book yet on the wild hunt of reptilian shapeshifters, or have you?
Well, you see that's kind of, well, I can kind of surprise it here.
I was gonna.
Um,
Did I pick up on
I'm
something?
working on another
Okay.
series that I've been developing in conjunction with a couple of friends of mine, but it's a spinoff of the Wild Hunt series, and it's going to be called the Olympic Project. No, I'm not Olympic. It's going to be called Project Olympus. Whereas Odin's Call is more Norse themed. This is going to be, the team's going to be named after the Greek gods and things like that, but they're concentrating with off-planet threats. So you
Okay.
might see them
Oh,
engaging different
like
species of
that.
aliens.
I think I must have picked up on that because I was thinking today, I was like, you need a shape shifting reptilian wild hunt team. Okay. I mean, people talk about them all the time and they go back in history all the way back to the beginning
Oh,
of
yeah.
time. So
Maybe
I
maybe
think
I'll
you
have
should.
to maybe I'll have to model a character for that based on you.
Based on me.
Yeah, sure.
Oh my gosh. I have no idea what
I,
that would turn out
I
like.
have a long history of putting friends in books, so
Oh, do you?
don't be surprised if I don't.
Oh my God. That's more of an
As long as
incentive
you're
for
not
people to
upset
read
by
your
it.
books. Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely not. I think that'd be hilarious.
There's a lot of
Fun.
characters named after and based on people I know.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, I absolutely think you should. Now, are there any other really cool cryptids that you would consider putting in your books in the future?
Oh,
You haven't
I
done
did
that?
one on the Ozarks Howler, which is an
Okay.
Ozarks legend. Supposedly, one of the Ozarks Howlers was shot by Daniel Boone, killed near Cuba, Missouri. Um,
Yeah.
but it's an Ozarks legend. It's very similar to the Hellhound. It's described as a enormous black dog about the size of a bear with horns pointed back from its head and glowing red eyes. And they said the baying of the Ozarks Howler will make your blood run cold. And there's been
Wow.
sightings of them here in Missouri, even as recently as 2019 was the last one I heard. Oh no, I take that back. There was one in 2020 down near Branson, Missouri. But the sightings of them are still occurring even today, and it's something I wouldn't want to run into the woods. Now, I've never seen one, but I have seen some very large canine prints in the woods, like the size of dinner plates, canine prints.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and
That's
that
huge.
unfortunately I didn't have any casting material at the time, but they were fairly deep. And it was clearly something running on all fours. It wasn't like a dogman print where it looks like it's
Yeah.
bipedal. This was something I was seeing multiple prints as in quadrupedal movement. So I don't know if it was the howler or not, but I've heard some weird stuff in the Ozarks National, not Ozarks, in the Mark Twain National Forest late at night. I've heard really weird noises coming from deep in the woods.
Wow. Well, next week I have JT and Ryan coming on the show
Oh, those guys are
Saturday.
awesome.
Yeah,
Those guys
and
are awesome.
they live in around the Ozarks, so about what, an hour from you, and
About an hour
so
and a half. They live in Rolla,
yeah.
Missouri, and I'm in Springfield, Missouri. My wife and I went up there a couple months back and hung out with them. Those guys are just freaking awesome. I want to go
Oh
back
my
up and hang up
gosh.
with them. JT
Yes.
is like obsessed with Halloween. His
Oh, yeah.
decorations around his house are freaking legendary. I've got to go up there and see him this year because every year he tries to outdo himself.
Oh my God. I need to see pictures then. That's going
When
to
I
be
get a chance to go
awesome.
up there to go see him, I'll take a lot. I'll take video and pictures and send them to you.
You know what? I may request that before next week. I'm going to tell you said JT, right? I'm going to
Yeah,
tell
JT.
JT to take some pictures of his Halloween
Oh, I
decorations and
guarantee you
show
he's
us.
gone all out.
Yeah.
I
Oh my God.
guarantee.
Well, they're like the kings
When
of
I was up
horror.
there a couple months ago, he was already starting to prep his decorations.
It's funny.
Yeah, he takes
You
it
got to prep your Halloween decorations.
months
You
in
need like a
advance.
month. Oh my God. Okay. Well, that's going to be awesome. Well, I'll definitely bring that up next week. But I've talked to them before about the Ozark Howler, and
Mhm. Yeah,
I don't know.
the
It
sighting
sounds
in
pretty cool.
2019 was
Yeah.
about, well, JT and Ryan live about 2.5, 3 miles apart, and the sighting was like almost exactly halfway between their houses on a trail.
Oh wow. See, Duke, the trending creative Halloween costume this year, I would say corn. No, I'm just kidding. Have y'all seen? No, I have no idea. What do you think, DA? What is the trending creative Halloween costume? Do you think it's Dogman?
I would love to see a full body dogman costume. I have a couple of professional quality dog werewolf dog / dogman masks. They're up on the shelf behind my green screen. I should have thought to grab them, but they're articulated masks. You put them on, put the straps in place, and it'll move. The mouth will move with your mouth.
Oh,
The
really?
only problem is I can't wear my glasses with them. So
Yeah, I really like those contacts that you can buy now that look like reptilian slits in your eyes and stuff. But I wear contacts anyways. I can't wear contacts that aren't prescription. So
mhm,
you'll never see me. If I have slits in my eyes, it's because I'm a real reptilian.
there
Okay.
you
But
go.
I'm not. But I'm not. I, I couldn't be so lucky. Just kidding. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know, but that's really cool. So I don't know. I say corn because there's that really cool kid that sings about or talks about how he loves corn. I just figure everybody's gonna be dressed up like corn this year. I don't know. We're gonna find out. And I don't know if I'm gonna dress up next week. I don't know if I'm gonna do that.
We're
Now,
doing a Halloween night show, and we're all going to dress up.
oh good. You know what? I'm actually planning to do a Halloween night show too. Well, I had to find out what time y'all are doing yours, so maybe we don't
8 to 10.
overlap. Okay, well, I'm gonna be doing mine a little bit later in the night. So I think mine's from 10 to 12. So
Cool.
we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be fun though. DA, I hope you'll come join us.
Oh,
Nick
definitely.
Valente is going to be on there with me. And yeah, it's going to be a really fun time. And I don't know. We just have a couple of minutes left. Let's go over some of your books right quick
Okay.
before we shut this down tonight, because this has been a lot of fun. Da, thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for taking over the captain's chair while I froze.
Not a problem.
That was classic. That was classic. All right, so you have the Apex Predator series. Tell us where people can find this.
You can find all my books as it shows right there at daroberts.net. I've got the Apex Predator series, which is a cryptid series about Native American warriors that hunt dogman-like creatures. I've got the Codename Wild Hunt series, which is a series about a military team that hunts dangerous monsters like Bigfoot, Wendigo, other things that I don't want to pop out yet. That's the first book. That's Odin's Call. I've got a series called The Lakeview Man, which is set very close to me. It's set down by Table Rock Lake near Kimberling City, Missouri. And it's about a small sheriff's department that keeps having to deal with dangerous cryptids that show up killing people in their county. And it'd be very difficult for a small sheriff's department that's undermanned to explain why Bigfoot's tearing people apart in their county. This is not like you can get on the radio and call that. I've got another cryptid series called The Nightmare Hunter. The first book of that is out. It's called The Nightmare Hunter Uncanny Valley. The next installment of that is going to be called The Nightmare Hunter Project, Curse of the Rougarou. And that one should be out soon. So I'm kind of expanding that series. I've also got a zombie series called the Ragnarok Rising Saga. It's a 10-book series. You can find all of those again at daroberts.net. I've got two sci-fi series. I've got the Lost Legion series as well as Man's Marauders. Man's Marauders is my newest release. The first book of that series. It's called Man's Marauders: A Planet Too Far. And I'm really excited about that book because it was a lot of fun to write. And I'm really proud of that one. The cover is spectacular. I really love the cover on that. The artist did an amazing job. Yeah. And I hope you guys would go check all those out. I've got a fantasy series that I should be dropping before the end of the year. The first book of that is it's part of the Blood and Redemption series. The first book is going to be called Heart of Iron. And that one hopefully should be done and out before the end of the year. But I've got 27 books currently in print. And if you go over to DixieCryptid.com, Cam Buckner from Dixie Cryptid is narrating some of my books. He's got the first 2 Wild Hunt books up. We're releasing them for free on his channel. You can watch them for free on Dixie Cryptid and on What If It's True podcast. And we make our money from the ad revenue. So you guys can watch those, listen to those for free, and those books are out there. They'll also be available on ACX. So the books are are available in print, Kindle, hardback edition, as well as many of them are available in audio, and more of them will be coming.
Oh yeah, please, you guys go check out Dixie Cryptids and go check out DA's series there. That is just amazing. I'm really excited about that. It's so accessible to everybody. And I had somebody in the UK actually send me a link to that the other day. So I was
That's
like,
awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. So people all over the world are checking it out. It's awesome. You do your research, DA, and I just love having you on and having conversations with you. You never know where the conversations are going to go.
That's true. When you've been on my show, it's been the same thing. We'll start. It's like a cat with a light. Like, ooh, shiny. We're gonna jump off on a tangent.
I know. I think the last time I was on your show, it turned into a Bigfoot dating show. Okay, at some point. Yeah. So you never know going on your show too. Anthony knows about that. Yeah, Anthony was there. So,
well, if you want, you're welcome to join us on our Halloween show before you segue into yours.
Well, thank you. I would love to. I'd love to. We'll talk about it. Okay. All right, Dave. Well, listen, have a great night. I will see you soon. We'll see you next week sometime, okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming on. Okay.
Anytime. Have a good night.
See ya. All right, everybody. That was awesome. Don't forget that right after this show, After Hours has a great lineup for you guys. Next Saturday, my guests are going to be JT and Ryan of the Horror Chronicles podcast. We're going to be talking about some good old-fashioned horror. I can't wait to see y'all then. But for now, I am the Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones. I am headed off the trail. After Hours is next, and I will see you guys next week. Y'all have an awesome week. Be safe out there, okay? Keep your doors locked and take care. I'll see y'all soon. Bye.